Hey everyone, it's Nashwauk Steve here again. Today's project is trying to fix an ice maker in our French door GE refrigerator freezer combo. I was doing some work in the kitchen and I shut the water off to the ice maker, not shutting off the ice maker itself. And I think what I've done is frozen the intake line, but I'm not sure yet, so we're gonna jump into this and see what we can do. I tried the hairdryer method inside there to see if I could thaw it out. That didn't seem to work. So now my next step is to take the ice maker out and see what we can come across. So I'm gonna show you how I do that and we'll go through this together and see what we find. So here's our bottom freezer. Back in here's the ice maker. So far what I've done is taken out two screws. The first one being right there. The second one was right kind of straight back behind that arm. And it's not coming out yet, so there's got to be more. I see there's one kind of up there, that direction, and then it might be attached somewhere here as well. I'm gonna see what we get there. So let's remove everything we can until this thing comes out. All right, I dug a little deeper into this, took out the basket next to the ice maker, and noticed that back here, there's a screw right back there. So we're gonna take that out and hopefully that will release the thing, because it's getting pretty loose so far with those two out. I'll show you here, it does kind of wobbles around. I can see that there's electrical on the bottom there. That'll be where the wire harnesses plug into. But we'll take this out and see if that works. One pointer I want to point out too when you're doing this is best to probably first shut off the ice maker and disable the door alarm if you have one, because otherwise it'll go off the entire time you're working on this, and you probably don't want that. So we'll take that screw out and see how it goes. All right, so this is the ice maker as it came out. I got that third screw out that was kind of back here, and the whole thing sort of fell out into the bottom. There were two wires that were attached. I had to unplug those two wire harnesses, and the rest of it just kind of fell down to the bottom, and I fished it out. It does appear that they made this so it should have been easier to come out than what I did. It looks like on the bottom here, if you'd have taken out just that one screw, I think the idea is that this ice maker then rotates up and you can kind of just slide it out like that and then unhook the wires. I don't know if there's that much room in the top to do that. It didn't seem like there was that much room, but I think that's the idea here. So anyway, 3 screws versus 2, I ended up getting it out. So now we're gonna look at what we have here, see if there's any ice buildup, and then I wanna look in that fill tube inside the freezer yet and see if any ice is built up in there and figure out what's going on here. That's it for now. All right, upon further inspection of this thing, I don't see any ice buildup in the fill cup or anywhere that would prevent it from operating. So we're just gonna set it out and let it thaw. And in here, I've got access now to the fill tube. So what I'm gonna do is try to blow some hot air up there and see if I can get any drips to come out indicating that there was ice. And we'll see what we get. That's kind of the next step. So I'm gonna blow some hot air and see what happens. Okay, so I hit that fill port thing with the hair dryer for quite a long time. I didn't get a single drip of water out of it, so I don't know if that's a bad sign, but I'm gonna just hope that it somehow fixed itself by me messing with everything, taking everything apart. So what I'm gonna do is put it all back in and see if it makes any noises like it's trying to make ice. If it does, great. If not, then I'll move on. I did some reading online and people talk about these fill valves and everything that are some electromechanical valves that may fail. I guess that's someplace to look to, but we'll start by reinstalling this and crossing our fingers, see how that goes. Okay, so when I said that I think it's easier to take it out possibly with the one screw rather than all 3 of those and taking out the plastic piece as well, I retract that statement. I just tried putting it back in that way and it was a lot of toil and I didn't get everything to line up. And in the end, it ended up taking all the screws back out again and reinstalling it that way. So I think it might be a good idea that's not really that well executed in the freezer, and using one arm as well. Not the easiest thing to do. Maybe with 2 hands it'd be easier, but in a bottom freezer all you get's 1 arm. So I got it back installed. Now we're just gonna wait and see if we get ice, and if we don't, then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so my first attempt at de-icing that unit did not work. I waited a long time afterwards and never got any ice out of it. So either the problem was not an iced up inlet tube or it was something else. So I did a lot of reading and trying to figure things out, and I came across a bunch of references to this water inlet valve here. So I decided that that may be the next culprit. I did what is recommended, to take it off and check the resistance across it. And I had a good amount of resistance, like I think it was like 350 ohms across it, which they said was in the range, what it should be, but I thought, well, if the internals are somehow fouled or plugged, it might not be a bad idea to try replacing it. So I did, I replaced it, and we had no difference. So the unit is still making a sound like it's trying to fill, but it's not getting any water into the tray. So the next step here is going to be to figure out why we're not getting water in the tray. Actually, before I go there, there's one more thing I did try. The water filter as well, which up there, back behind there is where the water filter is. I replaced that because ours hasn't been replaced in a long time, and that didn't change anything either. So, so the next thing is, yeah, this fill tube here goes from behind that valve back there up, and it's unlike most refrigerator styles that have just a tube that kind of the water flows from this point in the tube. This black tube goes all the way in to that space between the upper and lower cavities of the fridge and freezer, and then there's a little heat trace on there.
Want help?
It's supposed to keep it from freezing, and that drops directly down into the fill cup for this unit. So I've looked at a ton of videos, and none of them have this style where this tube goes all the way in. They all stop here and then just have a little plastic gravity flow thing in there, so it can never, freeze up. It'll always flow down into the tray or back through this pipe. So we're gonna go ahead back to the front of the unit, take that apart again, get the ice maker out, and then try to remove this line and see if there's actually something frozen up in there, see what it is. It shouldn't be because of the heat trace on there, but something's still not right. So this is the next step. We'll see if this gets us any closer to solving the problem. All right, so my first step in dealing with this black fill tube here was to pull this valve assembly out again. And I should point out that the part I replaced was just this section here. The other part comes as a separate piece, and I didn't do anything with that. So that's another thing to look into. I'm not sure what it does, but there's no water, drinking water on this fridge. It's just the ice maker. It's the only use of the water. So I'm not sure why there are two electromechanical valves in there, but there are. So I got that disconnected. This was in there, and then this line went up, and it had this big grommet on the end of it. I pulled that out so you can see right in there, and we're just gonna go to the other end now and pull it out and disconnect it and see if we can pull that through there and see what we get. Okay, like I did before, I pulled that ice maker out, and then I grabbed this fill tube and pulled it toward me after I disconnected it from the back there. And here it is. This is what is attached to the roof of the freezer. Unplugged that heat tracer there. I don't think that the heat tracer is working, because when I try to blow air through there, it does not work. So something in here is frozen, and I'm thinking that's my issue. So I'm gonna take a hairdryer, warm this tube up until I can blow air through it, and then we should be clear, and I can reassemble everything, and hopefully we have ice then. It's been a long time without it. So we'll see how that all goes, and I'll let you know if this is the final factor in our victory. All right, after heating that up, I got a bunch of water dripping out of it, which shows that there was some ice in there that was keeping it blocked, and I'm able to blow air through it. It's kind of hard to blow air through it, but it's going through, so that means that there's opening all the way to the end. So we're gonna go ahead, pull this through the backside, and then reassemble it. All right, so since the last recording, I thought I had thawed out that line and got it running again. It ran through one cycle of ice cubes and then was stopped again. So what I think now is happening is that line that has the heat tape on it actually froze up again, because the heat tape must not be working, and it just stopped because the line keeps getting frozen. So what I have here is I bought the part that has the heat tape on it. New plug-in, all new part, hose going all the way through. So we're gonna install that. So I gotta take the ice maker out again all the way, pull that other tube through here, connect this one, and see if that was the problem. I'm hoping this will be the final one, and we'll have found the issue, and we can have ice back again soon. So we'll give that a try and see what happens. Just as a reminder, to get this fill tube replaced, you have to go to the back, remove this access panel, and it's this black tube here. To get back in there and disconnect it. It's just one of those kind of shark bite fittings where you just push in the collar and the tube will slide out. And then this can be removed just like just like pulling on it basically. It's come up before, so like that, and that'll go on the new line to fish it through. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that apart right now. All right, after replacing that fill tube with a brand new one that I bought online for about $80, the next day we look and we have glorious fresh ice. So that was apparently the problem, was that fill tube back there coming into the unit. And one thing I did before I installed it, just to make sure that I had a fighting chance of finding the solution, was I checked the ohms across the fill tube heat tape, and did find that the old unit had 0 ohms, which means it was an open circuit, and the new unit had a significant amount. So there was something that was different there about the new one. So that was the fix. Hopefully this helps you if you have the same problem with the same kind of French door GE bottom freezer ice maker. Thanks for watching.